Welcome to Mercury Retrograde 2025. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Karma Cards. My name is Therese Tucker, and I had to start that way because I have to share a story with you to let you know we're already in the shadow of our first Mercury Retrograde of 2025. I already recorded this whole segment, and might I say it was great. I loved it. I thought I made some stellar points. My microphone was not on the whole time, so none of it was captured. Just a video of me talking away with no sound. So this is take 2, and that's very Mercury retrograde. All right, so this is the second week of my series for March because so much is happening energetically here that I wanted to break it down into weeks with you. And I bet you can guess we're going to be talking about Mercury retrograde, but there's other energy to talk about as well. By the way, we're already well inside Venus retrograde. So if you want to learn more about that, because that's also active right now, check out my last video where I explained to you what Venus retrograde is doing and how it's helping us and some of the things we might want to look out for there. So this week, we've got 2 events happening back to back. First is the blood full moon total lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. Sounds very ominous, but we'll explain what that is. And right after it, Mercury retrograde in Aries. So let's start with the total lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Virgo. This is happening on March 13th. Universal time, I believe it's happening on the 14th, but I'm in the Pacific time zone. So for us, it happens on the 13th. And by the way, there will be a spirit circle that day. So if you want to join me live and talk about this energy, work with it, focus on the healing aspects and the letting go, as well as channeling and psychic Q&A. There's the link, and you can join me by clicking the link in the description. So a total lunar eclipse is where the shadow of the earth completely blocks out the moon, and it gives a red cast, which is why it's called a blood moon. Energetically speaking, this is an absolute chapter end. Something ends there. It's a total blackout. So when you want to think about light as energy, when the light of the moon is being totally blacked out, something's ending completely. Now, the moon rules our emotional state, so probably something to do with the emotions. And of course, you want to look at your own natal chart, because wherever Virgo is in your natal chart, that's where some chapter ending is going to happen. If we look at it generally, Virgo rules our day-to-day activities. It rules the work-life balance. So things like your daily routine, your habits, your health, and how you balance taking care of yourself with taking care of others is what's generally being looked at here. So what is coming to an end? Well, anything that shouldn't be happening in your life, anything that the energy is just done with is going to end here. Now, for some people, this might be quite a helpful accelerator. Maybe you are trying to break an old habit or pattern, especially if it's around your health or your daily routine. If it's breaking bad habits there, this can really help you just end it. It's like the energy isn't there anymore, and that can be great. For other people, it might feel like something was taken away, like something just stopped working. And depending on how you've been sort of working with that energy, it might feel like a help to you, or it might feel very abrupt, like that alarm. So it's sort of up to whatever needs to happen in your life. But whether it's something that's helping you and you feel like it's helping you bring something to a close, or something has been closed off to you, understand it's for your highest good. Everything that's happening here is moving you up a level. And so whether it's abrupt or helpful, that's what's going on. Remember that you want to attract what wants you. So if something is leaving for whatever reason, then it's not in alignment anymore. And you can spend time looking at why it's not in alignment if you need to, but really recognizing that whatever wants you or whatever is for you will be with you. And this is sort of cutting out any excess. So that's March 13th. Then on March 14th, and we're already in its shadow now, and I'm checking my microphone because I just had a very Mercury experience with trying to record this video and having zero sound. So now on the 14th of March, we've got the first Mercury retrograde of 2025, and it's happening in the sign of Aries, where everything pretty much is happening this month. Now, Mercury retrograde is about reassessing our communication. So whenever a planet goes retrograde, it's internalizing the energy. So whatever's usually focused outward gets focused inward. And so now we're sort of in a reprisal period of looking at our own communications. Have I been assertive enough? Have I stated what I need? Have I been too assertive? So when we're looking at Mercury retrograding in Aries, assertion is definitely a key. Here's the caveat I see for Mercury retrograding in Aries. And I believe it's here through April 7th is the end of the Mercury retrograde. So rest of March going into the early weeks of April, we're in this energy. The caveat is Aries is blunt and not always tactful in its communication. So when we're unconscious and not thinking about it, we could be kind of blunt and maybe hurtful. Just like with Venus retrograding in Aries, there is sort of a tough love aspect to it where it's just like, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. Here's the hard to swallow truth, right? That's the tough love of Venus in Aries. Mercury in Aries is a little different. It can just be straight up rude. You got to be careful of that. You got to be careful of being a little tactless. That's on the harder side. On the better side of Mercury inside of an Aries is clarity. What do I want? How am I going to get it? Super clear, very direct, very to the point. So I like to think of this as a time period where the antidote to the possibly rude energy that we might give off or what others might give off, because again, it's affecting us all, is better listening. So really listening to people, making that the focus. When you're talking to people, if you can become conscious and really listen and repeat back to them what they're saying, because many times when Mercury's in retrograde, part of what creates the miscommunication is that we go kind of nonverbal. We internalize half of our conversation. And so it's like we're thinking half the words and only saying a part, which can also mean we're not giving enough information. So the tactic of better listening, where we really listen and then we try to repeat back to the person what we're hearing, especially if it's an important conversation. So the points you made are A, B, and C. Is that right? In doing that, we are filling in those gaps where it's like we're being conscious and it's calling the conscious awareness of the other person. So when we do that for each other, conversations will go great. The other thing that we experience with Mercury retrograde that a lot of people communicate is things feel slowed, like they're not moving forward, and tech issues abound. So again, check your devices, double check your emails. The trick here is Aries is impulsive. It wants it done yesterday. Mercury retrograde guarantees there will be a mistake. If we act on that impulsivity and we don't double check ourselves, there's a good chance you're going to make mistakes. And even if you do double check yourself, you might still make mistakes. So it feels like we're not moving forward as fast as we want. But here's the gift. Aries knows what it wants. Like I said, clarity, and it goes after it. And it's great at adapting. It'll get in there and get started. And if it has to change it up, it'll change it up. So if you're a person who writes out your plans, like I do, and you find that those plans are not going to plan, like I do, then what you need to know is just take action anyway. Even if you feel thrown off your course, get in the car and start driving. You're going to get to the destination. You might have to take a lot of detours and back roads, but you're going to get there. Use the gift of Aries, which is adaptation. And as long as you consistently move towards that which you desire, the universe will point you to the side streets you need to go down. It'll take you on the tangent, but it's going to get you there. And there's probably something you pick up along the way that was very helpful that you wouldn't get going this predestined route. So during this time, feelings can be uppity, people's tempers can be short. People will drive like numpties, including us, right? Like I was driving a little bit impatiently today, and there were definitely people who were showing me, mirroring that back to me. So we got to take a lot of deep breaths. We got to center ourselves, ground your energy, but understand that you have a beautiful clarity of what you are moving towards right now. And even if it doesn't feel like things are moving yet and happening for you, continue to take action. Trust the side streets that you get taken down. And I promise you, the destination, you're going to get there, and you might even get to something even better than you thought. The message from the team at this time is pretty simple. The key word is adapt. And so their guidance is when things don't feel like they're going as planned, when your plans have not worked out, take a moment and pause, get still within yourself, and think about the destination. Just take a moment to focus on what it is you're trying to do or trying to accomplish. And then ask your higher self, what is the next right step for me to take? And the guidance will come in. It might come in as a feeling, might come in as a thought. You might picture it. You might feel like you hear the guidance, whatever it is, whatever that next right step is, no matter how out of alignment it might seem, do your best to follow it. Usually it's not so out of alignment that you can't do it. For example, I remember a time where I was really struggling with trusting money. And I was in the shower and I did this exercise. I thought about where I wanted to go, and I asked my team, what's the next right step? And I heard, go to the bookstore. And in the moment, I'm like, that doesn't help me. Like, that's not going to help me with this struggle I'm having around money right now. But I thought, there's nothing to lose doing this. Like, I might not gain anything, but I'm not going to lose anything. And that's the guidance I'm getting. And I'm practicing trusting that guidance. So I did. And I went to the bookstore after that shower. And as I walked in the door, I felt like I walked straight up to a bookshelf. It was so weird. It was in a section that I never go to. And there was this tiny book on the shelf, and I was drawn right to it. It was like a magnet pulling me to it. And I remember I looked at the book, and it was like a book of like little prayers or something like that. And I didn't even sit there and try to thumb through it. I just opened it, cracked it open to a page, and I'm like, whatever this says, this is the guidance I need. And it was a prayer about abundance and resetting my mind around abundance. And I remember laughing at that because like I could not have manufactured that if I tried. Of all the places to go, of all the shelves to walk up to, of all the books to pull out, that's the one I pulled out. And it was an example of following guidance and trusting the solution. And the prayer was very helpful and did help me through that time. And that's what I needed in the moment. It wasn't the direct thing I was hoping for maybe, but it did give me, one, it showed me to trust my intuition, and I was practicing doing that at the time anyway. And two, it showed me how this works, right? That it's not always a direct straight line to what we want. Sometimes you take these little side streets, like I was saying earlier, on your way to what you want. And what I was getting is I needed to pick up a mindset shift, and I needed to evaluate how I was talking to myself about money, because just like anything else, if you are scaring yourself and you are telling yourself how hard something is or how you can't do it, you're literally disabling yourself from being able to do something. So when we are working towards something, if it's something we feel like we're not really great at, we actually need to encourage ourselves that this is going to be easy or that we can do it. We need to build ourselves up. It's just like I have children, and before they take a test in a subject, they get really stressed out. And the mindset talk is usually about how hard this is. I don't like it. It's scary. Tests aren't fun. They make me upset, all of that. So they're focusing on the wrong thing. And by nature, we make it harder when we're focusing on the hard part. If you focus on how hard it is, or like if you're lifting a weight, a really heavy weight, and you focus on how heavy it is, you start to feel weaker. If you focus on how amazing it is that you're lifting this weight, it's like you're giving yourself strength. So part of the direction at this time is 1, focus on what you want, 2, listen to the guidance, and 3, shift the mindset, because maybe that's what actually needs to happen before you take any other step, is it might need a shift. And simply asking for guidance and following that internal direction will probably provide the mindset shift for you. So with that, let's look at this week's karma cards. All right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how they work. I'm still checking my microphone. It's acting so weird. I actually lost the little fluffy head there on it, and I had to use the other one. So I'm kind of paranoid as I keep checking my mic. Anyway, here's how you play. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message you have for this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel what is the guidance you need this week. If you're looking for action-related guidance, you can choose red. If you're looking to see how things resolve, you can choose blue. And of course, you can also choose both. And let me tell you, while you're choosing the timing for this reading, this is for March 12th through March 19th. And the flavor of this reading, we've got Jupiter, which is the great benefic. So something's expanding. Something, even through all this stuff that can feel kind of like contraction, something is expanding and growing, which is always good. In the sign of Scorpio, which likes to get down to the truth. It loves to get down to the seed of whatever's going on, which makes sense because that's what all this retrograde energy is about. Getting down to the seed of what's been going on. In the 12th house, which represents the subconscious mind, it also represents endings and undoings. And like I said, Mercury retrogrades are about looking at something that needs to maybe get down to, I need to undo this or I need to change this. And the eclipse is about, this is done. This is done, next chapter, right? So interesting how this shows up in the cards. All right. For those who are seeking action, your spiritual action at this time is to learn or teach the extraordinary power of prayer, seeking oneness with all there is. It lines up beautifully with the guidance that was given, which is to consider the outcome, the thing that you're working towards, and to listen for guidance on the next right step. So the extraordinary power of prayer is simply doing that, is the asking. Ask for the guidance. Seek to be connected. Seek to feel your connection with all that is, right? And it says learn or teach that, meaning activate it in yourself and share the message if it feels appropriate. Mental action at this time, be positive about the highest and lowest aspects of philanthropy. They're talking about service to others here with philanthropy, and being positive about it, meaning that, okay, oneness is what we are. We're all connected, right? We're all energetically connected to the same energy is flowing through each one of us, that flows through everything. There's our oneness. There's our connection. When we are practicing service to others, it's a cyclical effect. The good that you do for yourself also contributes to the good that you do for the world. The good that you do for the world contributes to the good that you do for yourself. Now, I know a lot of us have programming about selfishness in here. The good that we do for ourselves that I'm talking about is taking care of yourself, taking care of your needs, listening, taking the time to nurture yourself. All of that is the good that you do for yourself. And it really is, in order to be able to be of service in a bigger way, we have to make sure our cup is full. And so often when working with people, we seem to be working with like half empty cups here sometimes. It's always important to remember that service to others includes you. And it's a message my team's asking me to repeat many times because it's easy to forget, or it's easy to get caught up into the fear, if you will, of being service to self. And that's the opposite polarity, the service to self. There's a difference. Here's how you know if you're being truly like service to self, meaning like you above all others, or you taking care of your own needs. Service to self, to be in that polarity, the what we would call the negative polarity, but really it's just the other polarity, is to deny connection with everything. So yes, if you're only taking care of your own needs and you're denying your connection to everything, that would be acting as service to self. If you are taking care of your own needs, if you are taking a time out, if you are stopping to consider what your needs are first before you go and serve other people, recognizing that you're connected to them and you need to make sure your cup is full so that you can be there for them, that is still service to others because you are taking care of the whole. And a lot of times what we can see is people who are concentrating on being of service to others, being a good person, sometimes you can slip into martyrdom where you reject yourself for the sake of other people. And that is weirdly mimicking the narcissism path, right? They're two sides of the same coin. I've mentioned this before, but it's important to really consider, why is it like narcissism? So narcissism is a practice of service to self, right? Me above all others. The flip of that is others, all others above me. And that's martyrdom. So you can see how they're two faces of the same coin. They are both practicing separation. One is just putting themselves above others and the other is putting themselves below others. Neither one of those positions is a service to others position. Service to others is always, you're always included. The group goes together. You too. And when we are making sure, just like when you're in your car, there's a lot of car metaphors today, but just like when you're in your car and you're going to go drive to someone, maybe someone you know isn't feeling well, and you're going to go bring them, you're going to bring them a meal and some flowers or something. You're going to go visit them and spend time with them, give them some energy. If you don't fill the tank up in your car and make sure it can get over there, there's a good chance the car could die or, sputter out or lose gas on the way. So, of course, you stop to fill up your tank and make sure your car's needs are met before you go on a journey. It's the same thing here. We're just making sure that our emotional needs are met, that we're addressing our needs, and that we're doing our best to meet them so that we have the energy to meet the needs of others. And there will be some days in our lives where other people say they need us and we just don't have it in our tank. Those days, it is important that you set those loving boundaries and be like, I'm sending you so much love. I'm going to give you some energy right now. I have to take a time out. I need to refill my own tank here, but I'm sending you love and I will be available shortly. That's okay. That's okay to do. And so when we're thinking about the highest and lowest aspects of philanthropy, aka service to others, it's okay to be positive about it. We want to practice that awareness that there's not just one way to be of service to others. And we always want to make sure that our needs are met in there, because otherwise what we're really practicing is other people have to meet my needs, right? I have to go meet other people's needs and they have to meet mine. And we want to practice that ability to take care of ourselves. And this doesn't mean we don't need other people. And it doesn't mean that other people it doesn't mean you reject the help other people provide you. It simply means that you are practicing holistically meeting needs. You're meeting yours so that you can meet the needs of others. Physical action at this time. This is a weird one. Grow and expand. Control the situation and keep your involvement hidden. This kind of feels like it's speaking to all this retrograde energy. The point of it is to go internal, to observe ourselves so that we can grow and expand. The reason I get that it's connected to the retrograde energy, the control of the situation is you really can't control the situation. You can control how you approach the situation, though. And like I said, the key with the Mercury retrograde is excellent listening. So if we can be conscious, and sometimes it's hard, but let's say we're conscious and aware in this moment, we're in a communication. Practice listening. Sometimes some of us, and I can put myself in this boat, sometimes we are waiting to respond. Especially if we're excited. If you get really excited and you want to like share something with someone, you can wait to respond. When you really want to do is try to listen, and by practicing good listening, you're hearing things and you're repeating it back for clarity, showing that you are taking it in and that you're trying to understand the points. And honestly, that's going to just create that smoother conversation. And that's the control that we have, is just trying to keep the conversation smooth and productive. Keeping your involvement hidden is simply about, it reminds me of a statement in the Law of One when they're talking about when real spiritual growth is happening. Real spiritual growth happens when you do something kind for another person and you say nothing. It's not because it's not about validating you and your kindness and your goodness. It's about kindness and goodness. And so that's what keeps coming up in my head when it says keep your involvement hidden. When we're actively listening, we wouldn't be like, this is what I heard you say, and I'm practicing actively listening so that we can have smoother communication. That would be awkward. I don't know that many of us would do that. Only that if we really are trying to create a better world, we don't talk about how we're trying to create a better world. We just do it. Right? That's where real growth and expansion occurs. And so much in our current reality, we got a lot of people talking about how they're good people, but aren't really practicing being good people. Hopefully it's just internet people and it's not the world at large. I don't see it so much in the world at large, but you do see it. You see a lot of the virtue signaling on the internet, which is so toxic, I think. And that's actually not doing anything. It's actually playing into the ego, because what that person is doing is seeking validation that they are a good person by claiming how good of a person they are. When truly, when our true goodness comes from the kindness and love that we extend without any expectation of being acknowledged, recognized, or reciprocated. We're just doing it because it feels right. And that's what it looks like to keep our involvement hidden. So it's just asking us to practice that very spiritual principle, because that is what grows and expands us the most. And it's an interesting experiment, because I think that we have plenty of actions where we're doing that. But it's also important to notice when we're doing things to seek validation. And that's like, oh God, I did it the other day. This is terrible. I mean, it's not terrible. It's just human. And it's human. And again, the ego kicks in. But my husband usually takes the garbage cans. We have a driveway that goes uphill. And so he's usually the one to put them out. But I've been putting them out because on the day they go out, he's already at work. So I've been putting them out, or he could put them out really late at night. And I don't want him to do that. So I put them out, but then I go and I mentioned that I did it. And not just in like, by the way, I took care of this. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, wasn't it nice of me to do that for you? Can you do something nice for me? My ego slipped in there and said that. And that just totally canceled out the pure action and turned it into an egoic action. And that's what it can look like. So I share that with you, not because, everybody has that. Everybody has moments of like they need the validation. And usually what that means is they're not validating themselves. So now if I wanted to do like a psychological deep dive, I could look at why did you need to do that? What validation were you seeking that you aren't giving to yourself? Right? So that's an example. And I share that with you just because we all do it. And it doesn't mean that we're less evolved or that we're less loving or less spiritual, like have less spiritual growth. It just means that we're having a human moment. And one of the ways that we can accelerate our spiritual growth is to practice doing, nice things or kind things for each other, taking care of each other without seeking to be validated or praised for it. All right, so now let's look at the outcomes for Jupiter in Scorpio in the 12th house of the subconscious mind. The spiritual outcome at this time is the granting of purification to resurrect your faith. Again, I love how it always ties to the last action. So when we're focusing on keeping our involvement hidden, when we're practicing service to others, when we're doing acts of kindness or generosity and love, and we're doing it solely for the sake of that it feels like the right thing to do, and we don't need anything to come from that. We don't need it to be validated or reciprocated. That is a purifying action. And that, like I said, it increases your spiritual growth as you do more of those types of actions. It moves you closer and closer to the positive polarity. So again, if you think of our journey here, we kind of start out in neutral in the middle of the two polarities, and every action polarizes us in one direction or another. And every time we practice these selfless acts of love and generosity, we polarize more positive. So it's talking about, okay, I did a nice act and then my ego got involved and it kind of canceled it out. It made it neutral again. Didn't make me negative. It just neutralized the pure positive thing I did. The beautiful thing is the next kind, loving act I do, where I consciously practice, just do it and let the ego doesn't need to get involved. The validation or the appreciation or the attaboy, don't need it. It's just because it's the right thing to do. As soon as you do that, it purifies the action before it, and you get some spiritual growth again. So the beautiful thing is they're talking about this acceleration of spiritual growth. And like I said, it comes from these little moments that are, the beautiful thing is there's copious. You can, like any moment, you can do these beautiful activities. And as you stay conscious of motivation, right? Is it because it's just the right thing to do? Just because it feels good? It's okay if it feels good, by the way. That's still very positive. Or am I doing it because I need you to see me as good? Or because I want to prove that I'm good, right? What's the motivation behind that? As the motivation's really pure, it purifies the lesser motivation, right? It sort of neutralizes it and takes any negative weight sort of out of it. It just makes it more neutral again, but you're moving forward in the right direction. Mental outcome at this time: blessings from the secrets of hidden tendencies. Even the awareness that a moment happened where maybe, like I said, we'll use the trash thing because that just happened a day or two ago, where I did the nice thing, but then I brought it up because I wanted reciprocation. I wanted something nice to be done. Something that was like, I took something off your plate, take something off my plate. Very human response. So if you resonate with that scenario, please know that this is not a judgment on us. It's just that wasn't the purity, if you will, isn't there. Purity of intention. Now it's transactional, right? Like, I did something nice for you. Will you do something nice for me? That's transactional, and it takes away that pure energy of just doing the nice thing or the good thing or the kind thing. But there is a blessing in the awareness of the transactional nature or the ego-based nature of, I need validation. I need you to see me as good. I need to prove to you that I'm good, whatever that is. Even if you catch that and you see yourself falling into that trap, the seeing it and being able to evaluate it, there's a blessing there, because it's now hopefully the next action where it's like, I'm taking something off your plate, is simply I'm taking something off your plate. I don't need to tell you. You don't need to acknowledge it. Hey, and if they acknowledge it without you sort of trying to wriggle a response out of them, that still counts as a pure action too. It's when we're like, did you see the nice thing I did? Did you see how clean the bathroom is? Did you see, did you see that what I did for you? That's when we've neutralized the great action. So here's the thing. Whether we successfully move the needle in the positive spiritual direction or not, there's a blessing there, because if you did it, great, you just moved up a little bit in frequency. If you engaged in egoic behavior or transactional behavior, still a blessing, because seeing it teaches you, right? You're like, oh yeah. Okay, that the motivation wasn't pure. It was more about me. Now you can see it. Now you get to make a new choice. So blessings either way. All right, physical outcome at this time, good fortune resulting from the power of large institutions or overwhelming events. Okay, the large institutions, overwhelming events, that's referring to the 12th house, which is connecting to the collective consciousness, is really what it's alluding to there. So it could be an event, it could be an institution, like a larger body, if you will, that connects us together, connects us as groups, connects us as mass consciousness. So what I'm hearing is this is more about the term mass consciousness. So good fortune resulting from the power of mass consciousness. Again, here's something I want to leave you with. Our pure positive actions are so potent in a world that might have seemingly a lot of negativity in it. Negativity requires numbers. So one person being negative, not that potent. You got to get a lot of people being negative for it to have a potent effect. But the inverse is true when it comes to positivity. One person displaying pure positivity, whether it's a selfless act or a loving thought or raising your frequency up higher, one person has an impact for at least an 8-mile radius that affects 8 miles around it in a circumference, right? You're just sending out and you're shifting the frequency of an entire area. That is how potent we are. And so where mass consciousness requires numbers of people for us to shift in a negative direction. And it gets weaponized all the time. They're constantly trying to weaponize mass consciousness in a negative direction, because then they can get their outcomes that they desire. And when I say they, I'm talking about like the negative side, if you will. But 1, 2, 5, 10 people being positive it's like, imagine a light bulb that could light up a city, one light bulb that could light up an 8-mile radius. That's what you're like. Now imagine putting 2 of those in an area. Now imagine 5. Look, you can see how much light it gives off. This one positive energy being, that's you. Choosing positivity, choosing to give love and appreciation and forgiveness and compassion to yourself or to another, choosing to engage in a loving act of kindness without seeking validation or seeking transaction, right? When you're doing that just from a pure state, look at your amazing impact. So where it would take numbers of people to create a mass negative event, it takes a lot less people to create a mass positive event. And what this is talking about is good fortune resulting from the power of mass consciousness. So if we could all choose over the next week to see how many times we could stay conscious and listen, how many times we can do something loving and selfless without seeking the validation or the transaction, and if you do, don't sweat it, right? Just do the next right thing. And that thing will neutralize the transactional nature, the egoic nature we might have experienced. Do the next right thing and understand that you are contributing wattages of power to the mass consciousness and you are helping uplift the whole group just by lighting up. And with that, I'm sending you so much love. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment if this if this video resonated for you. And I'd like to personally thank my microphone for staying on this time. Until next week, I'm sending you lots of love. Mwah.